Welcome, welcome, welcome to our IATEFL live show. My name is Georgia and I'm here with my IATEFL Teddy, who is ready to come to the IATEFL Brighton conference. In preparation for the IATEFL conference this year in Brighton, we are bringing you some of the exciting stuff we will be having there. And by stuff, I don't only mean news and events, I also mean our super duper wonderful presenters. And in this live show today, we are having two wonderful people who will be presenting and talking at the IATEFL conference. And more specifically, we are going to welcome Rose Aylett and Armanda Stroia. So first things first, let's say hello to Rose Aylett. Rose, thank you for joining us today.
Hi there, Georgia. Hi there, great to be here. This is like the closest I get to being on television. This is very exciting.
That's fantastic. We're very excited to have you as well. We are going to have some interesting interview questions with you, but not too revealing though, because I need to inform our audience that Rose Aylett will be giving one of the plenary shows at the conference. So, Rose, first things first, let's start with you. For the people watching us from home, can you tell us a few things about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, that's right. I'm doing the plenary on Friday of the conference, which is very exciting. So thank you to IATEFL for the invitation. I am a teacher, I'm a trainer, I'm a CELTA tutor. I'm based in Liverpool here in the UK, but I'm originally from Devon, which is a very beautiful part of the southwest of England. And I guess, yeah, would you like to know a little bit about my ELT background?
Please do, yes. What inspired you or who inspired you to get into ELT?
Well, I guess, yeah, it's probably my mum's fault that I'm kind of involved in language education in the first place. We can blame her. So my mum is a linguist, and although she might not describe herself as such, but she speaks very good French and Spanish. She was always really keen that we learned languages, me and my brothers. And when I was younger, we didn't go on family holidays abroad, but I did get to go on language exchanges. And that's kind of led to me doing Spanish right up until I left school. I then wanted to go to South America to actually use it. And she was really keen that I took a skill with me. So she encouraged me to do my initial teacher training, which I did. At the age of 18, I took a CELTA. And then went out to Chile and taught I was a language assistant there for about 4 months, and then kind of just got to use the language and travel. And I think just establishing that deep connection that you can have with people when you speak another language, that really sort of cemented my love of language. And yeah, I've been working in language teaching for, I don't know, coming up 20 years now, I guess. The first decade I worked mainly in the Middle East and North Africa as a trainer, as a teacher initially, and then as a trainer. And now I'm doing a lot more kind of online remote work, teacher training projects, project management, also CELTA courses face-to-face and online.
Amazing.
So yeah, that keeps me busy.
That's brilliant. And of course, by teaching in so many countries, you have had the experience of different backgrounds, different cultures, and how teaching is different from one country to another, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'm very lucky to have worked in many different parts of the world. Like I said, I guess my initial experiences, I trained up in the UK, but I've worked a lot in the Middle East and North Africa, but more so now back in Europe. And working online, you know, post-pandemic particularly, that's opened up a lot of opportunities to work in cultures and contexts we didn't have access to before. So that's great too.
Amazing. So, Rose, we've talked about the plenary. Now, without giving away too much, can you give us some information about your plenary on Friday?
Yeah. So this is like Taboo, isn't it? It's like the game Taboo, where you have to describe something, but you're not allowed to use certain words to describe it. So, okay, so I'll do my best. So my plenary is about critical literacy. We often talk about being critical in terms of critical thinking, I think. But critical literacy is about getting critical with language. It's about thinking about how we use language. It's about critiquing that, and it's about how we use language to promote social justice. So looking at the power relations embedded within language. So in my talk, I'm going to try and divide it into 3 sections. The first, I'm going to look at the relationship between language, power, and education. So there is obviously a link between language and power. We don't talk about it very much, but this is something I'm going to explore with some examples. And also power and education. So that's the first section, a bit of theory. And then I'm going to talk about critical literacy and attempt to define it and introduce a really useful framework. I found it very useful in my work. I mentioned it in my abstract to the talk. It's called the 4 Dimensions Framework, and it's from Lewison. It's 2002, I think. And it's these 4 different aspects of critical literacy, which is disrupting the commonplace, interrogating multiple perspectives, focusing on socio-political issues, and taking action for social justice. So I'm going to explore that with a few examples. And then finally, in the last part, we're going to look at how we can apply that to all that we do as language educators. So starting with individual teachers, the work that we do, and then maybe looking at teacher training and ELT management, and so what the wider industry, if you like, and I don't know, English language teachers associations, publishing houses, this kind of things. So kind of open it up towards the end and look at how we can apply that framework to our work.
Brilliant.
Lots to say, but it's difficult to get all of that into 50 minutes. I'll do my best.
No, that was brilliant. And it is very clear, both in your abstract and by what you were describing now, what we would expect from the plenary as well. My main question is, what I really like about the plenary so far, from what I'm hearing, is that it has got different applications for many different roles as well. My question to you then is, who or what inspired you to talk about critical literacy within our industry?
Yeah, so I guess I've always been interested in how we embed social justice content into the work of into our work as language educators, because we can teach anything, right? We're teaching language, but we can teach any content. But I'm interested in like how we embed that. I guess I didn't really know that this was such a wide field. I didn't have the language to talk about it first and foremost myself, but I didn't know there's such a huge amount of academic literature in this area. When I was doing my MA a few years ago, I was thinking about my dissertation, and I was aware that there were other teachers that felt like me that really wanted to know how to embed social justice and global issues into their work, but maybe didn't know how to do that. So for my dissertation, I wrote a course on critical pedagogy. And then because it was MA, I needed a kind of framework to be able to appraise the quality of the course and the impact this course had on teachers. And that was when I came across this term critical literacy and Lewison's framework. And so I used that in my MA. Because critical literacy is all about how we critique and use language to establish, to maintain, to challenge power structures. It wasn't a term I'd come across before, and I'd never heard about it in ELT, but it's actually really relevant to our field because it's linking language and the use of language with social justice. So yeah, that's why I want to talk about it at IATEFL and get more people using it.
Incredible. And do you think that students of different ages will respond differently to the idea of critical literacy as well?
Yeah, so I mean, it's, again, without giving too much away, but it's a stance that you take to your teaching, but it's also for teachers to for our students to develop any kind of critical literacy among our students. We also have to be critically literate ourselves, I think. So yeah, I think this is something that applies to not just teaching, it's something that applies to life. But yeah, I'll say more about that in the plenary.
Amazing. I cannot wait to hear more about this and to actually attend the plenary. It's very, very exciting. So just to avoid any other spoilers from the plenary, Rose, let me ask you some questions about your past experiences from IATEFL.
Sure. So, I have been to IATEFL quite a few times now. I was trying to work this out because I knew you were going to ask me this. I first actually attended IATEFL in Brighton 2011. So my first ever IATEFL was also in Brighton, which is quite exciting. It's kind of gone full circle. And I had just run the Brighton Marathon the week before. And I was also preparing to take my Delta that autumn. So I think I was kind of both physically and mentally ready for what IATEFL involves. Because as we both know, IATEFL is like a bit of a workout, isn't it, Georgia? I think. Running around all the different conference rooms. Yes. Yeah, for sure. But so, yeah, I really loved it. I felt like it was a bit of a kind of festival of teaching, if you like. And I came away with lots of really interesting new ideas. I felt I could apply straight away in the classroom. I met so many interesting people. I really just wanted to go back year on year. So I've tried to attend every IATEFL conference that I can while I've been living in the UK. Obviously, I've been living abroad at times, so it hasn't always been possible because of work. But this is actually going to be my 11th face-to-face, and I think my 12th in total, because of course there was the virtual conference in 2021.
Amazing. Yeah. And what are you mostly looking forward to this year?
Well, because of my connection with the Global Issues SIG, I was I am a former Global Issues SIG coordinator. That's always something that I look forward to is the Global Issues Showcase, which this year, I've checked my program, it's on Thursday the 18th, so the day before my plenary, which will be great because I think it'll give me a lot of good ideas as well. And I've noticed there's a couple of talks. I don't know these presenters, but their talks are really going to be great. So Natalia Krinska, Listening to Understand a Simple Strategy in Complicated Circumstances. That sounds very like kind of just my cup of tea. And Rita Divecki, Embracing Controversy in the ELT classroom. Something also I'm very interested in, and there's going to be overlap with what they are talking about and what I'm talking about. So those are two that I've got my eye on. The other thing I'm really excited about at Brighton is the fact that because the conference is, like the conference centre's right next to the beach, is going swimming in the morning before the conference starts. So maybe I can persuade you, Georgia and John, to come and join me for a morning swim at Brighton.
Say no more, Rose. I'm coming with you.
It's pretty cold.
So right, we can do this. It will give us a lot of energy for the conference.
Yeah, that's right. I did it last time. It definitely does.
Amazing. And one last question for you then, Rose, is we've talked about what the conference looks like, but what advice would you give to attendees who are looking forward to come to the IATEFL conference this year?
Yeah. Okay, I suppose we've talked about this a little bit already, but I think the most important thing is pace yourself, because it's such a huge event. So many speakers, so many interesting things to learn and to see. My big piece of advice would be spend a bit of time outside the conference centre. So either on the beach, wandering around the streets of Brighton, because it's such a fantastic city. It's got a really vibrant arts scene, great nightlife. There's a big LGBTQ community. There's lots of independent shops. There's lots of stuff going on. There's lots of interesting subcultures, stuff to see. Just spend a little bit of time outside of the conference centre, maybe in a break, or take one session off. Don't be afraid, take a few sessions off just to kind of pace yourself and allow you to enjoy the conference more.
Amazing. Well, Rose, it's been really nice to talk to you. I cannot wait to see you at the plenary and to see you at the conference as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Lovely to meet you, Georgia. Thank you. I'll see you in a few weeks' time.
See you at the beach.
Yeah, absolutely.
is back. John, welcome to the show.
Hi, Georgia. Lovely to see you. Hi, everybody. God, that sounded really, really interesting from Rose. However, when she started mentioning running a marathon before the conference and swimming in the sea every morning, I felt very inadequate. I just don't think I'm up to that. Are you up to that, Georgia?
Look, I love the sea, so I'm up for that.
Okay, well, I'll watch you and applaud you if you manage to do it. But yes, bracing is a really good word in English. Bracing is the description of the temperature of the sea at that time of year, I should imagine. But it is lovely that the conference is on at a sort of seaside destination, and hopefully the weather will be nice for us, as it is today in the UK. It's really nice too.
You know what, John? I have got one of the most amazing memories from the conference in Brighton when we had it last time. Was it 2017?
That's right.
Yes. And I remember I was taking a break after the sessions, and I was barefoot on the beach with an ice cream. And I still have a photo of that.
Nice.
And it was just lovely. It's a lovely conference place.
Georgia, there's only one thing to be concerned about: being on the beach with food, and the word is seagulls. You have to be careful of those seagulls, otherwise they'll have your ice cream. But yes, all good fun. And I think Rose's advice actually on taking breaks and experiencing the city and sitting down and giving yourself a bit of a pause between sessions is a really good piece of advice too.
Absolutely. John, what news have you got for us from the conference?
Let me give you some information. Right. So I think I've said this every time, but the Brighton conference is coming round frighteningly quickly now. By my calculations, we'll be starting the conference in 3.5 weeks' time, everybody. So don't miss out. It's not too late to book your place. And if you're not sure if it's for you, if you've never been to an IATEFL conference before, then a really good way to assess, to have a look, to get a feel for it, is to have a look at the conference program, which is now out. And you can visit our website or scan the QR code and have a look through the program. There are over 500 sessions, academic sessions, running through 4 days. And there are talks on, I think, every aspect, or almost every aspect, of English language teaching. And so my advice would be, if you're already planning to come or you've booked your place, then now's the time to look through the program and start picking out those sessions you really want to see. If you're still not sure if the IATEFL conference is for you, because it's over 4 days, although you can come for just 1 or 2 days if you're not able to be there for the whole thing. Have a look at the program, get a feel for it, and what you think might be the sort of right route through the conference for you. So yes, jump on the IATEFL conference website and you'll find the program. You can download it now, start thinking and planning. What other news have I got for you? Well, the next thing is booking your place. If you haven't already done so, it's not too late to book your place. If you want to book online, the deadline is at 4 p.m. UK time on the 8th of April. So that's in a couple of weeks' time. And the advantage of booking online is that you've done everything in advance, so you don't need to actually on the day stand in the queues and fill in the forms and register. But if you're unable to and you do miss this deadline, you can just turn up on the day and register and join. One final thing with that, of course, even if you're unable to join us, the exhibition, which is an exhibition of over 50 exhibitors sharing what's new in terms of publications, resources, online platforms, courses, everything that's happening in ELT. Entry into the exhibition is completely free for anybody, so you can drop in at any time and engage with the exhibitors in the exhibition. Final thing I have to say, otherwise my colleagues and my friends in the special interest groups will never forgive me, is to say that on the Monday, the day before the conference starts, there are 11 what we call pre-conference events, standalone one-day mini conferences organised by our special interest groups on specific areas of English language teaching. You're able to join one of those just for the day, or it's a great way to start your conference. And we find that most people who go to a pre-conference event are then planning to continue on for the conference. So again, you can go to the IATEFL website. The QR code is there, or just Google the IATEFL conference and we'll come up and you can plan your stay. That's it from me. Georgia, did you have any questions for me about Brighton?
Oh, John, I mean, I have got so many questions, but again, I don't want to spoil too much because we have got so many exciting things happening. I do agree that the exhibition hall will look amazing. I cannot
absolutely
wait.
It's going to be busy. One other interesting thing which I must stress, for those who are unable to join us actually in Brighton in the United Kingdom for the IATEFL conference, is that there'll be something called IATEFL Live. Georgia, I think you might know something about this, and we'll be bringing parts of the conference to the wider audience.
I might have heard something, yes.
So look out for Georgia, everybody. The team will be at the conference, giving you the inside track on what's happening there, so you can get a feel for what an IATEFL conference is like. And also we will be sharing, as we do each year, the recordings of the morning plenaries the same day. Later on that day, we'll be sharing those to the wider world on our social media channels. So IATEFL Live is a great way to keep in contact with the conference if you can't actually be there in person.
Fantastic. John, thank you so very much. I cannot wait to see you.
I know, I'm looking forward to it, Georgia.
Yes, fantastic.
Okay. Right, now I think we're going to fit.
All right, and we are back with Armanda Stroia, who is not only an IATEFL conference presenter, but also has written a wonderful article on Voices 295. So let's welcome Armanda to our live show. Armanda, welcome.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you so much for your invitation. It's lovely to be here.
Armanda, you have got a very interesting background, but before I ask you about the background, for the people watching us from home, can you tell us a few things about you?
Sure. Well, I consider myself an enthusiastic EFL teacher, teacher trainer, and I've been teaching for almost a decade and a half now. I hope with the same passion and enthusiasm like in the first stage of my career. And now, recently, I started also doing classroom research. It's an area which fascinates me. After I've been doing my PhD in linguistics, I also tried to find a way to combine these two hobbies, passion for teaching, and also this new passion for research, doing research.
Amazing. I was going to ask you about the research. So what is your research on?
Well, I have multiple priorities, but for example, for this IATEFL, for this presentation, it's a study on atomic reading habits, a neuroscience-powered approach for Generation Z and Alpha. And I'm going into psychology, neuroscience of habits, implementation intentions in order to help students teenagers to fall in love with reading, but starting small with 5 minutes a day. I actually had a challenge, a 1 month challenge, reading one every day for 5 minutes. And then we used all sorts of, they had some workshops in which they understood the anatomy of a habit, the habit loop, but more you'll find out in the session. And then I use surveys in order to find out what went well, what we can improve after 1 month, after we finished the challenge, the reading challenge.
Oh, amazing. And what inspired you to involve neuroscience and reading habits together?
Well, I love reading a lot in this personal development literature. So I've been reading a lot, and I found that we teachers, we can actually use these insights to help our students to develop these life skills. For example, also how to think in a positive way, how to regulate their emotions, how to manage their time better. All these essential soft skills which can help them, in their language journey as well. Because it's not only all about the hard skills like grammar and vocabulary. You also need these soft skills, how to manage your emotions. So how to be emotionally agile. This is actually one of my favorite books, Emotional Agility. I don't know if you can see, by Susan David. And I found lots of useful insights. And what can we as teachers do to help our students become emotionally flexible, agile, especially after the pandemic? Because I have so many students who have these ants, like in my article, and maybe you're wondering what are ants?
Yes.
These are, I usually ask my students, have you recently had any ants crawling in your mind? But they know I'm not going crazy. And now they know that I'm talking about automatic negative thoughts, which is actually a term employed from a cognitive therapy, behavioral cognitive therapy, referring to these negative patterns from our minds. And even for us adults, it's quite difficult to manage the pressure of negative thinking patterns, especially for our students.
Mm-hmm.
So I delved into this area of emotional literacy. And after that, I also wrote the article for The Voices.
Amazing. So that was going to be my follow-up question. So you've mentioned the article, and in the article, so for the people watching from home, the article is on Voices 295. You can see the description below. And you mentioned a very interesting term, Armanda, and the term is mental fitness. That caught my attention straight away. So what do you mean by mental fitness?
Well, I also love this term, and actually, it's even if it may seem like a new trend, it has been around since the 1960s when it was suggested by the psychologist McCarthy. Why? In order to avoid actually the stigma associated with mental health issues. When you say mental health or mental fitness, so. What does it mean to be mentally fit, or as Susan puts it, emotionally agile? It means to be able to have these tools and skills to be resilient, to develop this emotional intelligence and self-awareness, how to face and to show up, because we cannot just simply ignore these negative thoughts. It's not healthy. Because there is also this toxic positivity. Yes, there are some people who see everything through these lenses, but we need to be able to be aware, to identify. And I try to teach my students, first of all, what are these ants, how many types of ants are there, about ourselves. For example, do you say, what's wrong with me? I'm so lonely, or nobody likes me. About the world, sometimes they complain life's so unfair, especially when they have lots of tests and a lot of work to do. And then I'll tell my students that they are like popcorn thoughts, popcorn. So one one thought pops into your mind, and then another one, and until it becomes unstoppable. And it is quite difficult for them. They need communication, and they need to understand that it is normal to have these ants, because well, people have around 6,100 words every day crossing in our mind, even if you are not aware, according to the latest research published in Nature. And the most surprisingly, that 80% of our thoughts are negative. So why do we have this tendency to think about more about negative? Because we are hardwired evolutionary because of the negativity bias. We pay more attention to the negative, thoughts, feelings, sensations, stimuli from environment. In the past, that proved to be a life-saving mechanism for our ancestors, but now we don't have to be afraid of the digital predators or something like this.
I see. And now, speaking of mental fitness, you told me before that you have got this wonderful background, which is an activity that you will be presenting at the IATEFL conference.
Yes, actually, this is an activity I presented also in the Voices article, and my students love this activity. What does it mean? What does it involve? It's called the jar of ants, or with ants, and of course, I'm not collecting it, but I asked my students to write their ants they have before a test, or that week, on a pieces of paper, and they work in pairs. I collect these pieces of paper either in a plastic bag or in a jar if I want to be something more special, and then they work in pairs, and they have to try to say this ant, okay, and then they have to reframe it into a pet. And what a pet is a positive, empowering thought. So basically, for example, if they say, I'm never going to be able to speak fluently in English, so many students are afraid of this, they have to think about and say, okay, I can't speak fluently now, or I can't speak fluently yet, but with practice every day, with a bit of practice, I will be able to do this. And this can be turned into a very fun activity, because the other student can award points for depending on how creative was the pet, and then they switch turns and try to reframe their ants into pets, adorable pets. I tell them, my students, you have to hug a pet, a positive, empowering thought. And basically, when I asked them why do they like this exercise, they told me that it helps them think better, and actually trains our students to form positive thinking habits.
Amazing.
Of course, it doesn't happen like magically, like hocus pocus. From negative thinking, you're going to think, you are going to be optimistic. You need to be consistent. You need to invest a lot of time.
It's definitely a process.
Yes, it is a process, of course. So it's not as easy as it seems.
Amazing.
But with practice and with time and patience, you can see, or teachers can see, results. And I was happy because even before I was aware that the article was published, I got an email from a teacher from Canada. I remember now. And she was thanking me for these ideas and creative activities. And that really motivated me to go on with writing more activities like this for the emotional literacy part. And another activity, because I also love the digital part, I work a lot with my students on digital storytelling and student-produced videos. And I asked them to create a video tutorial, their first emotional aid kit. So what would they put if they had, for example, a first emotional aid kit? Because we are used to know how to react when we have, something like a pain, a physical wound, but not an emotional one. So what would they put in that? and they came up with lots of creative ideas, from memories, collections of happy memories, playlists, cheerful playlists, and photos on their albums. Lots of interesting ideas. Even putting on sticky notes their favorite quotes. Okay, for example, like "You are not your thoughts," in order to help them when they have these moments of anxiety and
these are
doubt.
really important. Exactly. Armanda, I have got just a few more questions for you with regards to the IATEFL conference. So, what are you looking forward to in this year's conference?
Well, I'm very excited. I can't wait to be there because I remember my first conference was in Liverpool in 2019, and since then I haven't skipped any conference, even if it was online due to the pandemic. And I fell in love with the academic, adrenaline, with the vibes, with the networking. I've made lots of friends. I love that part. So of course I'm going to be present to my friends' presentations, but I also want to go to a variety of presentations, even on this digital part, digital literacy, emotional literacy, mindfulness, in the reading habits in this part of literature. And also, I want to try something new, to have something completely new. Something, for example, not from my area, even from tertiary education, because I think it's important for us to go outside of our comfort zone.
Oh, this is a great advice. This is a great advice because you can find inspiration from many different topics that are not
Exactly.
particularly your focus.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Exactly.
And any advice that you would give our participants?
Well, I know sometimes it seems overwhelming to choose from so many sessions, and it feels frustrating because you want to go to many sessions at the same time. But I think it's very important to try at least one day before to choose something you would really like to be present and to learn more about. And I think in terms of time management, yeah, sometimes it's also important to have time to network, because you learn a lot just by being there and exchanging, sharing ideas with teachers and professionals all around the world. That's amazing. So I wouldn't miss that part of networking. And of course, Rose's idea was amazing with going and swimming in the morning.
Please join us.
I'm taking this into account. So
Incredible. Armanda, thank you
it's
so very much for your
invigorating.
time. And I'm looking
Thank you.
forward to meeting you and maybe swimming with you in Brighton.
Yes, sure. Why not? It's
Lovely. Thank you
amazing.
very, very much, Armanda.
Thank you.
Lovely. And before we say our goodbyes, I just want to remind you that we will be back with more live shows before the conference the week of the 8th of April. So we are looking forward to seeing you in more live shows coming forward. So thank you all very much for joining us today. I'm really looking forward to seeing you face to face at the conference. But before that, don't forget we have got more live shows coming. So thank you very much, everybody.